All right, so discussions. So we kind of alluded to it a little bit yesterday, but discussions are a little bit more expanded in Brightspace than they were in Moodle. In Moodle, they were just called forums, and you had a couple different types of forums, whether they be the Q&A forum or the standard forum, as they would call it. But in Brightspace, it's just discussion topics, and you can set them up with specific settings to make them like the Q&A forum or the things that you liked from Moodle. So I usually go up to the discussions tool, but just like with assignments, you can start from content and then upload, create, and click discussions. But I'm going to go straight to the discussions tool because I can see the layout of it a little bit better from here. So in discussions, we actually have some terminology to review. This big overarching text is a discussion forum. So it kind of holds all of the discussion topics, which students then create threads to, and then they can reply to each other's threads. So the threads are really kind of the same thing as the forums in Moodle. Like you would provide the prompt, which is essentially what the topic is, and then the students would create threads in response to the topic prompt. So you always need to start out with at least one forum. You don't have to go crazy and like separate it out if you don't want to, but it's going to ask you to create a new forum, and then within that new forum, you need a topic so that you can actually start a discussion. So if you want to create a new forum, you can just click on the blue New button and then New Forum, and it opens up this page with the details. So our title can be really anything that you would like. If you just want to say discussions because you're not planning on making multiple forums, that's totally fine. So I think something I will do is random nonsense. That's where we are at this point. You can choose to create a new topic with the same title if you want to. You could just check that box and it will, go through the steps of creating that new topic. But as you can see at the bottom here, after we're done creating this forum, we can just save and add a topic anyway, so you don't need to do this to create a new topic immediately. Then we have our handy dandy text box with the description. So I can say something like, this is where all of the fun stuff will live. So students, if they do go to the discussions tool, will see that this is where all of the random forum topics will be. If they just go to the discussions from the content page, they won't really see the descriptions for forums because you don't really link to the forums. But if they do happen to go to the discussions page, they will see these descriptions. Here under options, these apply to all of the topics within the forum. So as you create topics, they will automatically have these settings unless you change them. So we can allow for anonymous posts if we want there to be anonymous posting. We could also have it so that a moderator has to approve individual posts before they display, but that kind of just means that you have to approve them, so it might just be a little more work. Then we also have this one, which is pretty popular. Users must start a thread before they can read and reply to other threads in the topic. So that's very similar or exactly the same as the Q&A forum in Moodle. So they can't see anything in the topic until they actually post one themselves, and then they can see everyone else's stuff and they can reply to it. So it kind of helps with originality. Then this is very specific to forums because it displays the forum description in all of the topics. And this isn't really a case where that is useful, so I'm not going to check it. But I will check that they must start a thread before they can read and reply, because it will give you an idea.
I'll throw out that I use the display forum description and topics because I have a category weekly discussions, and all of my weekly discussions follow the same format for consistency purposes: post once, reply twice. So like all of my guidelines for that I put here, and I checked that display forum description. So on every forum that they go to, it says, remember, use the start a new thread button to create a thread, use the reply thread button to create 2 new replies, and you have to do your initial by Thursday and your responses by Sunday. So you can use that if you have like general guidelines. Like that's one of the benefits of having a category, because then you don't have to type it in every forum. But that's just the way that I've used that and found it helpful.
Yeah, I'm gonna add that just to see what it comes up in with the topics. So that was a good point. The way I had it was not useful, but if you put guidelines, it is useful. So everything else in here, there's just a restrictions tab. There's a bit more to go on with the topics, but the restrictions apply to the entire forum, so that kind of cascades down to its topics. So we can set an availability date for it if we want. Again, with the start and end date, it's the accessibility of it, so after the end date, they cannot actually get in there. We also have locking options in discussion forums and also in topics individually. You can unlock the forum just indefinitely and just have these start and end dates, or you can lock it after a certain date so that there's no more posts in there, but they could still see it. Or you can unlock it for a specific date range so that it is like you could post in it between these dates, and then you could still see it, you just can't add to the conversation anymore. So that's like a special thing with discussion specifically.
And
We'll
you
look
can
at
always
that.
edit those dates later, correct? Like if you had any kind
Yeah.
of, like if you, like, I don't know, like just like, I want to give you a little more time, it's not a problem to go back. It's not locked in that sense, right?
Yeah, for sure. I
And
have things. Oh, go ahead, Kat.
I
Go
was
ahead.
saying it's still special access, and I think if you go, so special access looks different here. They haven't updated this experience. It's the tabs across the top of the page, but oh no, I lied. I thought there was more.
I think in the topics we'll see a lot more stuff. In the forums, I haven't played around with the dates in there because I think that can get a little messy. I think in the individual topics it's a little easier to navigate with the dates. But I have forums that, or topics rather, that I had open from last summer when we did training, so I just changed them so they were available for training this year. So it's very easy. We also have our release conditions and then the groups and section restrictions. So we can restrict this entire forum to a specific group, but like the assignments, if you do that, you cannot go back. So just make sure you want to do that before you continue forward. Are there any questions about forums before we create a topic? Alrighty. So if we didn't know what topic we wanted to put in here just yet, you can save and close it and the forum will exist. But the nice thing about creating a new forum is you can automatically add a new topic. So we can click save and add a topic, and this is the new topic page. So if you remember from the discussions tool, there was that blue new button. We created a new forum, and then there was also a new topic option, and it just brings you to this page. So you can always create one after the fact. Just make sure that under forum, you select the one you want to put it in. So if we, for some reason, didn't want this topic in the forum we just created, we can select any of our other ones and it's not a big deal. Just know that when you do put it in a forum, it goes to the bottom of the forum and we can reorder those later. So it's not a big deal. You could also create a new one from here if you like, but we already created one, so I'm going to keep it what it was. We have a topic type here for open topic, which is your standard sort of everyone can reply to things, everyone can post, or a group topic where only the people in specific groups can post within their groups. And if you do click this and select your groups and then save it, you cannot go back on it. But if you have an open topic, you can always switch it to a group topic, provided people don't respond to it yet. So if you have it towards the end of the semester and you're like, oh wait, I want that to be a group discussion, not just open, you can change it as long as people have not posted in it yet. And it'll tell you that too. So we're going to add a topic title. So we'll do something like discussion 1, and we can add a description. But because I did put in the forum that the guidelines will post here, they are going to, but I'll put something in here just to see how it formats out. So in this topic, you will discuss the harrowing existence of crows. I don't know, something fun. You can also use all of your insert stuff, fun things. So videos are allowed here, any images, we even have equations and tables and everything you could think of. Under options, we have all the same from the forums, except for the forum description goes down to the topics, obviously. So we can allow anonymous, we can do moderator things, and we can have them start a thread. But because I already set that in my forum, that everything in there, the users must start a thread, it's going to automatically sort of happen. But if I wasn't sure, I could just check it off and it'll be fine. But I won't check it. Now the ratings here in Brightspace are not anything related to assessment like they were in Moodle if you chose to do it that way. The ratings are kind of between users. So students, if you do enable ratings, they can like rate the posts of others with like 5-star ratings or upvotes and downvotes. So sort of like a Reddit system. So if it's something like a question forum, like if people have questions about assignments or what have you, you can set up like an upvote only rating scheme, and they can upvote the questions they want answered, or they also have, so that you can kind of get an idea of who's asking what without answering the same question 5 times. So that's a good use case for that. I think Kat uses ratings a bunch, but I just know they're not associated with assessment.
Yes, I will say if you do choose to use them, you have to like highly promo them to the students because they're not used to it in the discussion forum. And currently I only use the upvote rating because I haven't found a good one to use the up down that's not like negative.
Yeah.
But I do use the upvote one on posts because I'm like, you only have to reply twice. And because we have other things to do in the class, I don't want you to spend all of the time in the forums. But if there's someone else that you come across later that you like, you can just give them a little upvote rather than taking the time to write out a reply or say, I like this post.
Do you have any problems with like social dynamics of that, where I don't know, like students like my comments never get liked, or like there's, I don't know, is there any kind of worry about that?
Not yet, like I said, because I'm still like they're still new to it. But they also can't see who has liked it, like it's anonymous liking. So it's not like, well, this person always likes so and so's and not mine, or like this. So they can't see who plus, and you can't see who plus it. It's just so far it's just been like a pick me up, like, oh, somebody liked my post.
And speaking of anonymous, I assume if we allow anonymous posts, we won't be able to tell who posts.
Right.
Correct.
Okay.
And you can't undo that. Like, so after you hit save and close, you cannot go back and make it unanonymous.
Okay.
It wouldn't even be in like someone's logs, you know, like as to who posted when. Like,
I'm sure in the background, like we could go through the Brightspace logs and find out like if something, we could say who was on then and like who accessed it when, and do some.
I mean, I can't honestly fathom why. I guess there's very few cases where I'd want an anonymous post, but it's so even then, I don't know. But like, if in the occasion that I did it, it would be an interesting like, oh, if someone then posted something offensive or something like that, that would be interesting.
I think you're just asking for someone to start trolling if you do that.
Yeah.
And I have to admit, I kind of miss the trolling aspect of the Moodle forum compared to the rest of the internet, but pedagogically, I can see why you don't want that.
The only thing I could think of is if I were doing a free write where I wanted students to feel free to be like, look, this is a text that might make you uncomfortable.
Okay.
And I want to give you some anonymity in that. So it'd be a very limited,
right,
very specific kind of, a thing. That might be the only thing I can imagine. I don't, that's like, look, I truly am not judging you. How are you doing with it? I don't know. That might be the only way I can imagine.
Then I would turn on the moderator post, so that way you'd still have a chance to pre-read it before you share it.
That's a great point.
Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense.
Like do those journaling groups, like if you wanted it to just be them like, saying their piece, but only for your eyes, then you could just do the journaling groups and no one can see it. You just make it a group topic.
Oh, that reminds. Can you? I remember in Moodle you could delete posts or edit posts and delete posts. Can you do that in Brightspace student posts?
Yeah.
I mean, the only time I ever had to delete a post was when a kid posted for Modern Belief in my non-Modern Belief class. So I just copy and pasted it and sent her an email and said, I don't think you meant to post this in our class. And she's like, oh my God, thank you. Yeah. That's the only post I ever deleted.
So I will say there is the option for editing posts, so students can edit their posts also.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is why you might want to use like the unlock lock feature. So like after a certain point in time, like when you're ready to grade, you might go lock the topic so they can't edit it anymore. But even if you don't do that, you do have the option to see their past posts. So like if they do edit, you can view their previous version.
Right.
Oh, is there a window on the edit, or is it just a window that we set for they can edit it for, say, weeks afterwards? I seem to remember Moodle having a 30-minute limit. I might be mistaking Moodle with something else on the internet that I use.
No, yeah, Moodle had the 30 minutes. So this one, you can't set that time frame as long as the discussion is unlocked.
Yeah.
That's not good. They can edit it, which is sometimes helpful because they forget or like they see a typo like when they review it and they're like embarrassed and they want to fix it or something like that. So in that regard, it'll be helpful. But if you are going to assess the topics, I do recommend locking them. I mean, you can still, like I said, you can see the edits and when the edit was made, so you can be like, no, you changed this after I graded it. But
Yeah.
I feel like it's just one less step if you do take the time to lock it, because it's still visible if it's locked. And still get it and see it.
Right.
Do posts post, because that's a great point Dave's bringing up about the edit window. I'd forgotten about that. Does that mean that the posts always post immediately then too, as a result of that? There's no waiting for the 30 minutes for things to post either. But that's
Right.
actually lovely, because there was sometimes I would want to send an announcement out and I meant to send it immediately and I forgot to check that box, and then I have to delete the whole post and then copy it back again to like, no, I wanted to send it immediately. So it would be nice to not have to do that, because I forgot that more times than I'd like to confess that I did.
Yeah, so no waiting period.
Yeah, blessedly and also cursedly. So it is nice though. But Kat has a good idea with those restrictions. It has the same tab as the forums, but that availability versus locking, the locking would be good so that they can't go back in and edit. But like we'll show you, there is a way you can look at previous posts and their post history. So not a big deal. But yeah.
With the lock it, like, so like I'm sometimes, if a student has a really good reason to be out for, like, they were sick for like a couple of weeks or something like that, I will let them go back and add things even after the date. But that lock would prevent that at that point, wouldn't it? And so I'd have to unlock it for the purpose of allowing that student to, yeah, okay.
Right. Yeah. And I think you could do it for a specific date range and say you have like these 3 days to do that, so that it's only open for that bit. You don't have to worry about it. But I think, can you adjust that in the special access, Kat, or is there no special access for this?
There is no special access for discussions. I'm going to submit that to the PI because I think there should be.
Right? I thought there was.
So did I. Like, I don't know where I'm missing it or where I made it up in my head. But yeah, so like, I usually use like the, I'll use the unlock topic for a specific date range. And I don't mind if they post it typically. So I'll just use the end date. And I'll even set the end date, for like a couple days after it's due. So that way they know that. So like the students who are late, like those stragglers, I don't have to worry about fixing it for them. And it would just be like those special case scenarios.
Right.
Yeah. So are there any other questions before we continue on with the party? This is the same as the forums. We already talked about the availability and what that means, and these dates will show up on the topic itself and in the content tool if you choose to port it over, so the students know when it's like available. And I think they also know when it's unlocked, especially if you click display in calendar, because then it'll be in the calendar too. So I'm going to keep it unlocked for a specific date range. We could also do our release conditions here if it's specific for a specific group of people. And then we could do the group and section restrictions if we want to restrict it particularly. Something new with the topics is the assessment. So in Moodle, we kind of did like an assessment through ratings, but in here you can just do a straight up assessment and go straight to the gradebook if you so choose. So just like with the other things, you can select an existing grade item if you have one already prepared, but you can also just create a new grade item from here. And it just asks for the name and the short name, pretty much the same fields you'd get if you set up the grade item beforehand in the gradebook. So I can say like, this is discussion 1, D1. If I had a category for it, I could put it in there. I can also set up my max amount of points and all of those other fun things we used in the grade item area yesterday. We also have the availability date on this, but because I didn't set one for the discussion topic in general, I'm just going to leave it the way it is. The score out of, which is here, and it could be different from the actual points you assigned in the grade item. It just kind of like translates to the grade item score and just calculates it accordingly. So if this is different, like you'd rather score it out of like 5, it'll then translate appropriately to the grade book based on the the maximum points. So I could say it's a score out of 5, but it's a max points of 10 or something, and it'll reconcile itself mathematically. But you could just keep it the same if you don't want to be fun with it. and that's fine. We also have our rubrics here we can add, which Kat demoed before. So you could just add one that is already existing in the rubrics tool, or you could create a new one in a new window. And we also have the option to assess individual posts. So if you don't want to do like an overall grade for all of their postings in this topic, like their thread and their 2 replies, you can assess the individual posts as well. And if you did choose to do that, you can like average the post score, or you can sum it up. You have a couple different options here for how to calculate it. So we can do like sum of post scores, and then if the student did like 3 posts and I rated them all 5, they get 15, something like that. So any questions about the assessment area?
Can I just clarify one thing that, because Kat, you said like the rubrics you could exist, they'd be in multiple places. Is that across all of your courses or just in one course? So if I clicked on that add rubric, would that give me access to all of my rubrics from any course that I had?
No, it's by course, but you can copy your rubrics
From another, okay.
Right.
to another.
Like, so once I had entered it, I would just, so then it would just, okay, I see. Yep. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. So I'm going to save and close this up, and I'm going to show you what the topic looks like in the forum we created. So because the forum was brand new, it's going to be at the bottom of this list. So I'm going to scroll all the way past all of these things. And I have my forum here, and in everything in this forum, they must post first. We could also see that in discussion 1, we have that it's unlocked from these dates, and it also includes assessments. So the students have an idea of the time range, but also that they're going to be graded on it. So when you click on it, it opens up the topic, and we have our existing description from the forum in here as well. And then we also have our description for the actual topic itself. We can start a new thread, and this is what it'll look like for the student. They enter like a subject, like it's an email pretty much, and then they just enter their text in the text box, and automatically everyone's subscribed to the threads that they create and they reply to. But if you didn't want to subscribe to a particular thread, you could just uncheck that. You won't get notifications every time someone posts to it. And then you could add attachments as well. And I think, yeah, from the student perspective, this is all they see. And once they post it, it's just kind of there. Let's see, I guess I can put something in here. So we got our subject, and then put in my text about crows. And then once I'm done, I'm just going to post it. And it's instant. Here it is. We have our upvoting system, so like the little plus button appears next to it. The interesting thing to keep in mind, because we've had a couple questions about it, is that when you go to respond to a thread, you do have to click on the actual thread name. So you can't respond to it from here, even though you could read the whole post. And if it's longer than like 2 lines, you can click show more, and you could read it all without actually entering the topic, or thread rather. But if you click on it, then you will see the blue button to reply to it. So you might need to tell your students that, because it's easy to read everything in that thread before actually replying to it. But also keep that in mind for yourself when you're replying to students. So you don't have to create like a whole new thread to say something to someone. So any questions about that?
I'll also throw out, I like the reply to thread above and below there, which it may seem silly because they might reply like right to the initial posting, but it also means like just ease of use. If there were several other replies that they were reading, they don't have to scroll back up to hit reply to thread, which is just a nice thing. And there's also the option to flag a post. So like if it's something you wanted to come back to, if you were like, this student's post was interesting, I want to make sure that I can come back to it easily. So you can flag it there. You can also pin a thread to the top. So like if you make a post and you're like, I want to make sure all the students see it, it has that pin option. So it'll be to the top. If Riley goes back to the topic list here, you see it says filter by, and now it shows all threads, but you can filter by flag. So you can just see the ones that you flagged. You can filter by ones you haven't read. Both. Filters. And then Riley, at mentions.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Thank you,
And
yeah.
also word counts.
Our brand new feature. Yes, word
That's neat.
count.
Before, just a quick question. Can students quote a specific thing that they're passing to, responding to, or do they have to like copy and paste it into their response?
That depends on settings.
Okay.
In the settings, you can choose to always copy. And
That's true.
the problem with that, like if you're directing as a instructor, is that the settings are for like their site. Their settings are not from by course.
Mhm.
So, but the reply settings, it does say include original post and reply.
Okay.
And if you
There is.
scroll up as an instructor, I always like to display deleted posts because you can see if a student made a post and deleted it. Like if they started to and decided to let me backtrack, or, you know, my content's not really controversial, but they may like make a post in a different class that's more controversial and then be like, I might have gone too far and deleted that.
Is that a workaround for the originality thing of they have to read before creating a thread, potentially?
We have to test it, but I think if they delete it, since they won't have they won't have a thread count. So I think it would undo, and that's another way for you to see it, and you can.
Because I did last fall, I had a student that I realized gradually was massively not like direct word for word copying, but he was clearly reading a few people's and then just saying exactly what they had said. And I caught on about midway through the semester.
Right.
Well, he was getting more blatant. So
Right.
it was happening. So it is rare, but that was like, oh crap! Now that's something else I have to start paying attention to. And so I guess what still conceive I would still have to be aware of that, but not, even I can't just check off that button and be like woohoo, because in theory they could delete it, read a bunch of people's if they thought they were getting better points, like if there were a point scoring system. I still think it would help, but that's just to be aware that that might be happening if it's a higher stakes kind of a post.
Right. No, that's a good point. Are there any other questions or anything?
Show the ad mentions. I'm so excited about it.
Okay. I'm going to go into a topic and I'm going to click on this. I'm going to reply to somebody. Also, when someone replies to a thread, you can reply directly to them instead of just replying in general to the original text. So that's an option.
Oh, that's what I was at, yeah.
Yeah. So you can see it right up here, which is nice. I was using this because you automatically get the title of the thread in your reply, but you can change it if you had like something else to say about it. So we're just going with the bird theme today. But you could do at mentions now in Brightspace. So essentially, just click on at and start typing. I mean, Catherine doesn't come up, but Karen Nealon does. Is there a reason why that is, Kat?
I don't know.
But there's a student in my course named Student MU. So I can at them and say, are you going to reply to this? I mean, you probably wouldn't call out someone like that, but it's an example. But we also have our word count down here. And if you click on it, it tells you how many words, characters, no spaces, like it does in Word. But if you do things that involve word count, you can see it here and also up in their summary of the reply and in their thread too.
And David says add original post text. So even if they have that setting unchecked.
Oh, yeah.
Use that.
There it is.
Right.
So that's helpful. And I'm excited about the opportunity to be like, hey, at so-and-so, you should check out at so-and-so's post because you guys are on like a similar wavelength. There you'll find it.
Now wait, but in that case, the word count is then taking into account all of that extra stuff, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like reply to post below, that kind of thing. So, all right.
Yeah.
Oh, and one other question, like, are we the only ones who can flag and pin posts, or can students also flag and pin posts?
I think they can. I don't know if they can.
I can check it out and impersonate my student.
I don't think they can pin.
That would make that would make no sense. But, oh look, right.
Fun. Yeah, let me see. I do this. I can flag it. I can't pin it, but I can flag it. I can also print it. It's interesting. But yeah, I can flag it as a student. That is interesting.
Printing could be really handy. Like there was sometimes I actually genuinely want, like that was such a great discussion. I want to save it for later for myself.
Yeah.
You know, like that's a really,
Wonder what it
so that's actually really cool.
It doesn't look too like horrendous either.
No, it's not bad.
Sometimes when you print out things, it does not look that great, but this is
Right.
actually not too bad.
Yeah.
Let's see. So, any other questions before I look at the assessment of topics and things like that? I'm going to stop impersonating the student, and then when you are ready to actually go through and assess a topic, you can go straight to the discussions list and just click on the context menu next to the topic that will be assessed.
Mhm.
And you have the assess topic option. So if you did not set it up for assessment, like associated grade item, or even just indicate in the settings that it's ready for assessment, you will not see this option, but you could always add it afterwards if you needed it and forgot. So when you go to assess the topic, it looks a lot like the assignment page, except here you can actually retract all feedback at once. I don't think the assignments had that for some reason. You could publish it all at once, retract it all at once, and then we can also just click on the topic score instead of like the file like we did for assignments, and this window comes up. So the score is in the top right instead of like alongside, because I don't think they updated the evaluation area like they did for assignments. But then for general feedback, it kind of appears at the top, and then all of their postings appear below that. And it has their word count if you need that for grading purposes. And if they have multiple posts, they'll have like, multiple sections down here. And if you did choose to individually assess each post, each one will have a topic score on it, I believe. So it's a little bit less robust than the assignment page, but that's because it's mostly just text items anyway. And if they did put a video in here, you'd be able to look at it just clicking on the video preview. But I could put in a topic score. I provided some feedback, and then I can save a draft just like we did with the assignments, and you can see that the status is drafted. And then if I'm ready to go, I can just publish all feedback and say yes, and once it refreshes, it'll say published and what the date and time was. So now that student has that feedback, I can retract it if I want to, but that's pretty much the assessment for discussions. A little bit easier.
And that's for everything in the thread. So like if they did their initial and then their replies, they would all be in one place. That's lovely.
Yeah, because it's organized by users up here. So you just get to click on topic score, and it's for this particular topic. And you see all of their things within there.
Mhm.
One thing that we haven't really talked about that is here is that manage exemptions.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wait, just before you do that, I'm sorry, can you go back there,
Yes,
Riley? Because
of
you
course.
said in this topic, what's the difference between a topic and a thread and a discussion? Like, so.
So,
Okay, so go ahead, Kat.
So a topic is where the students actually make the posts, and within the topic, they have threads and replies.
So you've got the discussion, the forum,
So
the
you have-
topic.
yes, forum, topic, threads, and replies.
So if like weekly work, week one work would be the topic, and then it's all their threads and their posts and replies within that one. So yes, okay, that's correct. I just wanted to make sure that I had that clear. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, this would only be for the writing process topic. If I wanted to do my weekly discussions, like I'd have to do those topics individually.
Okay.
So
if I have multiple questions in a given week, that's the topic. Those are
Yeah.
that's yeah. Okay.
So manage exemptions. I have 2 students in here. So yeah, walk me through this, Kat, because I haven't played with this yet.
Yeah, so you would just click on a student and you can exempt them, and it just means that it won't calculate. It won't count towards their overall completion. So like those circles, how like the circles fill up or the bar
Oh, right.
goes across that says they completed everything, it takes it out of that for them. And if it is something in the grade book, it won't calculate that into their grade at all. So if for some reason you had a student that didn't need to do those, or you had some other agreement that they were going to do something else, you can manage exemptions for that. It's also helpful, if you have like that one honor student and you're going to give them like a separate project with special access, you can just exempt them from like the regular edition of the assignment, and they can have special access to the honors assignment.
Mhm. So yeah. Any other questions about discussions, or Kat, anything I missed?
Nope, you did fabulous.
Cool. Well, we did go a little bit over time, but I will just